Hello, it is Monday, it is a new weekly reading vlog. I am currently waiting for last week's video to, export. As you can hear, my computer is fighting for its life over here. And well, I've got the fan on underneath, like the cooling fan thing, I bought one. It goes underneath it. It's like a different, this thing here, so that it cools the computer, so that the computer doesn't have to quite fight for its life as much. But it makes it sound like it's fighting for its life, because that fan is also on. So, yeah, that's what you can hear in the background, along with the fish tank, which is always making noise, because it's got one of those filters that, like, dribbles the water back into the water. Anyway, that just... How many... Not even a minute, and not even a minute into filming, and I'm off track. Anywho. And dropping stuff. Anywho. It is Monday, it is a new weekly reading vlog. I have been working my way through my list of things to do today. My car had its MOT today. It failed its MOT because it needed new brake pads on the back. So we got new brake pads, passed its MOT. It's all good. I knew it needed the brakes done, so that was fine. Like, I knew the brakes were probably... I just had this feeling the brakes were going to do something. So, brakes fixed. It's all sorted. Woohoo. So, I only have two things left on my to-do list, and that is to get this uploaded to YouTube and to do some reading. And I am watching some YouTube while I wait for this to export, and then I'll get it uploaded onto YouTube, and that'll just leave some reading to do. I think I've been like binge reading the Bergman Brothers books, and I think I'm going to switch over to Catherine Arden, because I do need to start reading some books that are actually on my physical TBR. I know the Bergman Brothers books are going to be on my TBR, because I get the books in May. I've got them. I've got the paperbacks on my Amazon wish list, because I do want to get the paperbacks as well. I've got the Illumicrate special editions incoming. I've ordered them for myself, but I do want the paperbacks as well, because after having read the ebooks of the first three, I know I'm going to want to go back and tab the living daylights out of them, because some of the lines, some of the quotes and the rep and stuff like that, I want to tab it. I want to highlight and tab it. These books are amazing. Like, I love them so much. And yeah, so I really want paperbacks to go in and tab and highlight and stuff like that. So I'm going to eventually work my way up to buying the paperbacks as well. So yeah, they're on my Amazon wish list for me to remind me to buy them at some point. But the library doesn't have book 6 or 7. It only has up to book 5. So I'm away to start book 4. And once I've read book 4 and 5, I've run out of books. And then what do I do? Well, then I'm going to have to read my actual TBR. So I thought maybe I'll take a break, read my actual TBR, and then I can go back to Bergman's brother's book. I speak English fluently, apparently. So yeah, I think I'm going to read this, because I've also been thinking about this. So yeah, this, you don't know what this is, because it's in a book bestie. This is The Warm Hands of Ghosts by Catherine Arden, her new adult historical fiction. I'm very excited to read this, so I really need to actually pick it up and actually read it. I've got a bookmark in it and everything. It's ready to go. I just need to actually read it. So that's my plan for the foreseeable. But I just need to get this freaking video uploaded. And I will also need to film something this week at some point. I just don't know what I'm going to film. So we will find out on Friday, won't we? Anywho, I will update you later, but I just wanted to actually get the vlog started, because otherwise I just had this feeling it would never get started, because this Monday has been a Monday, and it's just been, like, if it could go wrong today, I feel like it has gone wrong. So yeah, I just wanted to get this off on the right foot. Hello, it is later on Monday evening. I have been reading The Warm Hands of Ghosts by Catherine Arden, and I wanted to be better this week about talking about the books I'm reading, because last week was a little bit of a write-off. I kind of like absolutely just beasted through 3 Bergman Brothers books. 2 Becca Brothers books. I didn't even talk about the third one. I loved it, by the way. Didn't even talk about it. Didn't even mention I was reading it. But this, so far, I'm 100 pages in. And I can kind of see why people are saying, like, what I've seen so far is somebody say they really liked Freddie's chapters and then were kind of a bit bored when they got back to Laura's chapters. And I can see why. You're kind of... So, this book is about Laura, who we follow in 1918, and she's just received... So she's working in Halifax in Canada as a nurse, and she has been previously working at the front in, I'm not quite sure where, I can't pronounce it, and the hospital she was working at was bombed by the Germans, and she was hit by shrapnel and ended up on a hospital ship back to Canada, and she was discharged from the army as a veteran, as a nurse. Not a veteran, a combat nurse, sorry, and now works in the hospital at Halifax. And she comes home from her shift one day, and on her way home she meets like one of the guys who is like distributing post, and he has a box with her brother's belongings in it, and that sort of means... It kind of means that our brother is dead, but there's no... Normally you would get a letter or a telegram to say that they have died, and the dog tags... So you have 2 dog tags on the... So like you have a set of dog tags, there's 2 dog tags. One stays with the body, one goes to the family, and both dog tags are in the box. So she's like kind of in denial, like, no, he's not dead, he can't be dead. Like, there are things missing. I've got both these dog tags. There's not enough blood on this jacket for him to possibly be dead. It doesn't smell like a wound. Like, she's just in that place of denial. Like, she's only just found out, so she's like, he can't be dead. Like, my brother can't be dead. Our parents died previously. Like, she's like, he can't be dead. And then the other chapters follow Freddie back in 1917. And he wakes up and he is in a pillbox. And I don't know what a pillbox is. I think it's some kind of like... I'll need to Google it. But I feel like it's some sort of underground structure, because it seems to have some sort of structure to it. But they're like stuck lying down. Like they can't really move very much because it's collapsed a bit. So it seems to be sort of underground. Like they've gone in. The Canadians have kind of gone in to fight with the Germans, and something's happened and it's collapsed, and he's woken up and he can't see because it's really dark. Obviously they're underground, and he's like, oh god, I'm dead. And then he's like, no, if I was dead it would hurt more, it would hurt less even. And he's like, okay, maybe I'll die quickly, like, and this will be fine. And realises there's somebody in there with him, and he's like, oh god, is it like a friend, is it a foe, like is it an enemy? And it turns out it's a German soldier. And he's like, oh god, like, will he kill me? Will I kill him? Am I gonna have to kill him? Like, and he realises, like, he's also surrounded by other bodies, like dead bodies, and he's freaking out. And he and the German come to this sort of like, they have this sort of truce almost, like, they both kind of come to this agreement, like, they're going to die. So why, like, it's that kind of moment again where the people fighting in the wars, they're not enemies, like, the enemies are the governments. The governments are the ones that are fighting these wars. The people on the ground are not the ones that are the enemies. And so they have this kind of this truce moment, and after they spend some time in there, they're like, okay, we're clearly not suffocating, so maybe we should try and get out of here. And they work their way out, and you're following them as they kind of make their way through no man's land. And it's very, obviously, like, it's you're making slow progress. It's really, really quite daunting and scary. Like, you can't see, it's muddy and it's wet and it's, you know, it's really dangerous. You don't know which direction is which. You don't know whose side you're going towards. There's shells coming in. There's, like, got like people, machine guns everywhere, snipers, and they don't know if they're heading towards the German side or the Canadian side. like the ally side, it's so harrowing, like watching these two kind of go. I'm not very far, I'm only 100 pages in, so like it is very, 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 like, we've had a lot more chapters from Laura than we've had from Freddie at this point. So Laura has decided she needs to find Freddie. She thinks he is not dead. She's had this spiritual, like, ghostly apparition come to her. It's again one of those things where it's like, is it paranormal? Is it in her head? My personal opinion is that it's paranormal. There's a lot of ghost stories that come from the First World War, and they are talking about that. Like, there's stories of angels and ghosts and spirits all around the First World War. And I personally believe that in this story, that it is supernatural. I believe the story is paranormal. I think the story is paranormal anyway. So in my head, I'm reading this book from the point of view that there is something paranormal going on. I might be wrong, but that's how I'm reading it. You might read this book and say it's Laura's, like, it's all in Laura's head. But I'm reading this from the point of view that there is something paranormal going on. But because there's also a time jump, so you're seeing Laura in January, February 1918, and you're seeing Freddie in November of 1917, you don't know. You don't know what happens to Freddie. You don't know. You don't know what Laura's going to find. And it's so, like, I'm really, really enjoying it so far. I'm really enjoying it. There's a few bits where I can tell Catherine Arden's writing is kind of, I can see it, like, it's not quite reaching the adult level, if that makes sense. Like, it's not quite, there was a section at the start of a chapter, and I was like, this is very, like, I'm not sure how to say this, so let me explain it to you this way. And I'm like, no, that's not quite, that's quite, like, that's quite obvious that you don't know how to, like, work that into your prose, so you're just going to info dump it on me. It's only like a paragraph or something, but it's very much like, let me just, she does that, like, she has these, like, Laura's chapters have, like, memories of her and Freddie to set up this sibling relationship, and the way she does it, it's not quite, I've seen it done better, basically. Like, Catherine Arden, the only work I've seen from her previously, the only work I've read from her previously is young adult. So the Winter Night trilogy is very much young adult, and even that was lending towards middle grade. And so again, this is an adult book, but it's lending towards that young adult feeling, but with, like, dark undertones. And it's funny because the character of Laura, she feels like an old soul. She feels like an old woman. She's very jaded, and she's very cranky, and she's very, like, dead inside in a way that is quite realistic, I think, because obviously she's a combat nurse. She went over, she saw things, and, like, that you and I could never imagine. She was a nurse in a war that was unbelievably inhumane, and she even says in it that she saw patients and soldiers come in who were more mud than human, and they were already gangrenous. People who'd been injured 10 days previous to when they were brought in to see the nurses and the doctors. You know, they have people coming off the trains at one point, and the soldiers are completely mad. They've lost it. They've cracked through what they've seen. And she has dealt with those patients, and she has this deep, deep compassion for those patients, and she knows that it's the war that's done that to them, but she also has this feeling inside, like, you can just tell, like, she feels like an old lady, this old, jaded character, but she's a young lady, she's a young woman, and it's so, like, she's so well written that way. Like, you get that, like, I keep her image keeps like flickering in my head, because she feels like an old wizened woman, but she's actually, and her hands are scarred and stuff from all the damage that's been done through her work in the war, and she feels like that way, like that old wizened woman, like the witchy sort of like hag sort of way. That's what she feels like, but she's actually only in her 20s, and so she flickers in my head whenever I'm reading her, because I forget that she's a young, handsome woman, you know, like she's not, well, the thing is, she's not beautiful, she's not conventionally beautiful, because she is scarred from being hit by shrapnel and being burned, from being bombed and things like that. She is visually scarred and disabled from being friggin' bombed. So like she purposely makes herself look unattractive. Like she's like cut her hair really badly, and she does things to purposely make herself look bad, because she has reasons to do with the treatment of the soldiers, and how she doesn't want them to feel a certain way towards her as she's treating them. So she makes herself look physically less beautiful on purpose, so that she feels like she can be a more effective nurse. And yet, like, she is, in her own way, she is beautiful. And, like, her friends see that, her friends tell her that, like, she is beautiful. She's just Laura, she just is. But she feels like an old crone. Like, inside she is an old crone. She is that jaded, just, like, I can't imagine how that must scar you internally, seeing things at wars like that. And I think that has been written so well into her character. Like, I think that has been done so well, written so well by Catherine Arden into her character. And I can't wait to read more of this. Freddie, on the other hand, he's at the front. He is in no man's land at the moment, and he is a child, really. He's 21, and he is an artist. He's a poet. He is a soft soul, and he keeps, like, again, he's seen things that nobody should see, and the way he's kind of dealing with it is different from the way that she's dealing with it. Like, she's got these scars over her heart, these scars on her soul, and she has toughened up her skin. Like, she's got scar tissue that's toughened over time, like, not physically, like, over, like I say, over her soul, and that's how she deals with it. That's how she's dealt with it. He, on the other hand, he keeps panicking. He keeps hyperventilating and panicking and just, like, freaking out. And the German soldier that he's with keeps having to, like, slap him to be like, "Are you okay?" And he's like, "Thank you." It's quite funny. It's not funny, but it's funny. Like, it's that whole dichotomy, and Laura talks about it as well, in, like, that dichotomy of horror and comedy in the same thing. And soldiers these days use it as well. I've spoken to soldiers who are in some of the most horrendous conditions. We used to, one of the, because of the degree I did in forensics, we used to speak to the bomb squad for, we used to have lectures with the bomb squad, and obviously the job they do is really, really dangerous, and some of the dark humour, like, I have dark humour, and then there's the guys on the bomb squad, and some of the army guys and stuff, like, there's a line, there's a very fine line between, like, horror and comedy, and they blur so, like, they blend, they don't even blur. There's something about the human mind where we need that mix of, like, we need to bring comedy into horrific situations, and I feel like Catherine Arden so far is doing that really, really well with Freddie's situation, because Laura is safe. Laura is in a situation where she is safe. She is in Canada. She is safe. She is not in a position where she is in any danger. She is just extremely fearful for someone else who is in danger. And so she can feel serious. She can feel like she's in a serious situation, and she can face that without comedy. Whereas Freddie is, in fact, have I been calling him Frankie? Freddie is in an extremely serious situation. He's in no man's land. He is in one of the most dangerous places in any battlefield is no man's land. And especially in World War One. Like, that place was just, and at this point in time during the war, where it has been raining and raining and raining, and that place is just mud. It is soup out there. It is, you can't get your feet under you. There are pits that are just water. You could literally drown on the battlefield because the water is that deep. You don't know whether there are people or not. You can't see the guns. There are bombs coming out of the air. Like, he is in the most severely dangerous situation, and yet there are times when things happen when it's funny. Like, there are funny things happening to him. So, like the guy, like Winter having to slap him to get him, like, out of his hysteria. Like, it's happened more than once. And he's like, "You good?" He's like, I'm good. Okay. And that made me laugh out loud. And it's that blurring of, like, the comedy and the horror. It's such a horrific situation, and yet there's that little burst of comedy. It's just, so yeah, I'm really, if you couldn't tell, I am thoroughly enjoying this so far. And I'm really looking forward to finding out. I really hope it's actually paranormal. 2, I really hope Laura finds Freddy. 3, I really hope everything ends up, like, I hope we get, like, a happy ending. I don't know, I need happy endings right now, but, like, war historical fictions tend to be quite, you know. But yeah, hopefully. But we shall see. I'm 100 pages in. It's 375 pages long. So I have 275 pages to go. I will keep you updated. Hello, it is Tuesday. I just wanted to quickly come on, and it will be quickly this time, to talk about TLHU, which is just funny, because the other day I was talking about the 3rd book, which is Mystery at Dunvegan Castle, and I could not remember the synopsis of the books in general, but Jessie on YouTube is highlighting on Instagram black creators and black authors, so they had made a post highlighting black male bookstagrammers. I could not remember the word Instagram there. My god. They had highlighted black male Instagrammers because black male creators don't get as much love on there, and quite rightly they should be getting more love. And so I went and followed all of them. I put them in my story. I hope that anybody who saw that went and followed them as well, and they will still be on Jessie's story. Go over and follow them. They've got some amazing posts, and this time Jessie has made a post sharing, and again I've shared it on my story. I don't know how long stories last. I don't know if it's 24 hours or if you can still see that. I've not worked out how to do highlights yet. I'm still working on Instagram. I'm a boomer, and Jessie's made a list of black authors and, like, books that they had given 5-star to of male black authors, and they had also asked in the not description, the caption, oh my god, I'm so old, and the caption of the photo reel, the photo, like, carousel thing, I'm showing my age, I'm showing my inexperience with social media. Hello, it is Thursday, and I do not feel well, which just has been great all day. I don't know what's going on. I've got really bad pain in my foot, which is now kind of like shooting up and down my leg. So I'm just going to ignore that and hope it goes away. But I have been sitting reading The Warm Hands of Ghosts, which you are leaning up against, so I can't hold the book up. But that's fine, it's in a big bestie cover anyway, so it's not like you can even see the book. And I don't know how I feel about the book. It's very mid, it's like given like a 3-star, 3.5 star at the moment. And not because it's bad, just because it's, nothing's happening. It's like so much book has been taken up by so little happening. Like, not so, like, Laura has finally arrived in, where is it? Is she at Flanders? I can't remember. She's finally arrived where she wants to be. And so we have followed her in each step of that journey, and there's been like drops of information throughout. But it's so, the thing is that the thing is, there's so much in what's been done that I enjoy about other writing. The atmosphere is really well written, the characters are really well written, the setting I don't think is well written enough. Like, I don't think you're getting a clear enough idea of from Laura's point of view, what's happening around her. So, for example, she's currently at a field hospital, I kind of feel like a voluntary private field hospital in, I keep wanting to say Flanders, but I'm not entirely sure that's where she is. It's near Flanders anyway, or they had to go through Flanders. I could be wrong, but it all seems very, I don't know, it's not been described in the same way that in Freddie's point of view you're getting the idea of the mud and the churning and the desperation, and I don't know if that's because we've spent so much insular time with Laura, but at the same time you spent a lot of insular time with Laura and gotten nothing from her. Like, it just feels like nothing's happening. And I said that about other books. Like, there are other books where I've said nothing happens in this book, but I've loved it. Like Legends and Lattes. It's not a high stakes book. You're literally just following Viv as she is literally building up this cafe, this coffee shop. But there's enough detail to that where she's going through her decisions on the roof trusses and the descriptions of the smell of the new wood and where she wants to put the tables, and like the choices she's making with the coffees and the machine and the board and the character building, where it makes it interesting in a way that this is not quite grabbing me, but I'm still open to it changing and like hooking me in, because there is still that mystery of what happened to Freddie, because there's still this time gap between like Freddie going missing and Laura coming back to France and Belgium to find out what happened to Freddie. And then there's this added, like I say, this added layer of this thing of like paranoia versus paranormal, and I'm still interested. Like, I'm still eating up the pages. Like, I will read a couple of pages and it's actually been 20-30 pages. So like, it's not like the book is like, it's not a slog or anything. So I don't quite understand what's happening. But yeah, this is how I felt about the first book of the Winter Night trilogy as well. Like, it felt like it didn't quite pick up until the end, and then it was worth the payoff. So I'm more than willing to get through this book. Like, I am still hooked into it. I still want to know what's going on, but I don't know, there's just some kind of disjointedness for me with this book. But I don't know if it's me or the book. Like, is it because I'm not feeling well and I'm just not taking it in the same as I would if I was feeling fine? Is it to do with the book? I want to say it's more to do with the book, because I have heard the same thing said by other people, and the same sort of thing, that like Laura's chapters are quite flat. So, you know, and this is Catherine Arden's, I think, first adult book, so I think sometimes it can be a little bit of a struggle. Not a struggle, but I can't think of a better word. Like, the translation from writing middle grade or YA into adult writing can be like, it's not necessarily the easiest jump to make. Like, you're used to writing in one style, you then have to write in another style. It's not, you know, I couldn't do one or the other. So for her to be able to translate like her skills from one to the other as well as she's doing it now, like, if I was to pick this up and not know anything about Catherine Arden, I would still say it's a good book. just knowing what I know about Catherine Arden, I'm a little bit more, I'm sort of digging in a little bit more. So, you know, I am being a little bit more critical than I would be if it was an author I didn't know. That's the thing. So yeah, hopefully I am like 180-ish. I'm nearly 200 pages in. It's 375 pages, so I'm about halfway there. So we shall see. I think this might be the tipping point for the book, so I will keep you updated. So I've just finished The Warm Hands of Ghosts, and I was right, that halfway point was definitely like the tipping point into more of the meat of the story. But I also definitely think I was right in that I don't think this went as deep as I would have liked. Like, this story, for example, in the hands of someone like Chris and Hannah, Elizabeth Wine, some of the other historical fiction writers that I read, would have left me curled up in a ball sobbing. And obviously it didn't, but it was still a very poignant story. I still think it was a good story. I am not mad at it at all. I still think it's definitely a 4-star, but not a strong 4-star. It just wasn't quite, I don't know, it didn't dig in enough, I think, for me. I think for people who don't like the sort of devastatingly, like, heart-rending World War I and II historical fiction stories, this is your cup of tea. But for me, like, I want you to, like, tear me to shreds. Like, this one didn't do that, but I like where it went. I like the... Do I like the open-ended ending? Like, the... Because we don't really get answers. I don't know, because I like having answers, but I also get why there's no answers. I don't know. I can live with no answers. And also, like, what this is beautiful, and the quote, "and the stars of heaven fell to earth." I have theories, but obviously we have nothing to back up. I think this is like, see, the thing is, I think this is partially scripture based, and I have nowhere near enough scripture knowledge to understand any nuance. So that also does not help with any things that I may have then missed. For me to say, like, oh, I didn't do enough, I may have missed things. So, you know, there's also that. But yeah, I really did enjoy this. Catherine Arden's style is very easy to read. I flew through this. I really, really did. I think I read this in 2 sittings. So, yeah, very enjoyable, very good. I'm looking forward to whatever she writes next. Yeah, I just kind of wish it was a little more? I don't know how else to describe it. I don't know how else to describe it. But yeah, definitely really, really enjoyed this. And I really like that that's what they've chosen for the edges. Now that I get the story. Because I was like, what? But now that I've read it, I get it, and I'm like, I see you. I get you. I understand why. And I always love it when I make the connection. But yeah, I'm going to go to bed now because it's past midnight and I have work in the morning and I did not plan to stay up this late. But I'm also not too mad because I wouldn't have been sleeping anyway because I am really sore. So there's always that. I feel really just... But, oh well. Tomorrow's Friday and I get to just chill out at the weekend. I don't have any plans. I'm on sprints on Sunday with Becca as long as I don't feel absolutely horrendous. But hopefully by then I'll be feeling better. So I'm going to grab a couple of Rennies because my stomach is feeling a bit rough. hopefully it's just like reflux, like heartburn. I'm gonna grab a couple of minis, grab my stuff, like my water bottle and stuff, go to bed, and sleep. Hello, it is Friday. It is finally the weekend. I am finished work. I am, I feel a bit as bad as I look, so forgive me for being ill. I am reading, can't remember what it's called, it's the fourth Bergman Brothers book. I'll put a photo here. And I get the feeling that somebody said to Chloe Leese, you can't have a disabled main character in every one of your books. And she went, hold my beer. She has so many, like, I can read books where, like, I get, like, a lot of people have, like, standalone books, so it's not necessarily, like, the same thing. Like, this is a 7-book series. So this is, like, a scope that a lot of people don't tend to do. But, like, a lot of people will have, like, one disabled character, maybe, like, a token disabled character, and, like, be done with it. Like, and that's, like, their little pat on the back. I've got a disabled character in my, like, Chloe Leese was like, let me just do a deep dive into several types of disability. Like, because from memory, and now, like, I need to go over these again and tab them. This bit of hair is just not, my hair, you're gonna, ignore the hair. So, from memory, so book 1, you've got a deaf main character and another main character whose mum has cancer. I can't remember, I think that's only one main character who's disabled. The other main character's just, like, probably got some, like, mental health issues going on. But, like, so deaf main character who went deaf in later life, and so is having to deal with it, like, in a different way than you would necessarily having been deaf from birth. You've got a main character whose mum has cancer, and then the deaf main character, his dad is an amputee. Just threw that in there. And then the second book, you've got a character who is autistic and has rheumatoid arthritis. And you discovered that the other main character, his sister has been diagnosed with autism, and he suspects his brother has autism because of after his sister gets diagnosed with autism, he's like, okay, I understand she's been diagnosed with autism, and that makes sense now. Why is nobody looking at him? Because, and then book 3, you have, and it's not a disability, but, like, just thinking about rep, you've got a fat main character, a plus-size main character, female main character, and the other main character has serious issues with mental health, like serious issues with mental health, not just, like, your regular garden variety, like anxiety, like pathological issues with mental health, like life-ruining issues with mental health, which stems back to his dad, who was an alcoholic, and, like, the repercussions of that. And now in this one, we've got another character who's autistic, and a character who's got freaking ulcerative colitis. Like, what? Chloe Leese really said, I'm just gonna, like, make my way through, like, not to mention the way she discusses so many different things. Like, I pity people who see these romance, like, just basic, like, romance novels, or, like, romance books, cause they're not, like all these people that just see these books and discount them because of the genre that they're in, and I really want to do, like, a deep dive into these books. I really, really do. That's going to be one of my videos later on when I have all the paperbacks and I can go through and I can tab them and I can actually do, like, a lot of work with them. Because, like, even I was talking to my mum about it when I was in the car with her on the way to Edinburgh, like, a few weeks ago. Like, one of the things that I would never have thought of, again, not deaf, don't have to think about it. Also, not, like, massive mountain man, so don't have to think about it. The main character in the first one, who went deaf later in life, big guy, big massive guy, like she refers to him as like lumberjack, like she calls him lumberjack as a joke because he's like massive and wears flannel and has a beard and everything. And he is like this big massive guy, and she is like, she's no slouch, like she is a D1 college athlete. She plays football, and now like later on in the books she plays football professionally, so she is fit, like she is at the peak of fitness, and yet he is scared to be intimate with her in certain ways because if he doesn't have his hearing aids in, he can't hear if something happens. So like if she says stop, or if she has some sort of pain, like outcries like ow, or like something like that, he can't hear her to respond, and that terrifies him. Like that scares him to think that he may hurt her inadvertently. And so they need to rethink their methods of consent, because consent is not just at the start, consent works all the way through, and he is considerate of that. And so, and obviously she can't then ask him and have him respond in an accurate manner because he may not understand what she is saying. So they have to rethink their consent and their not conversation, what's the word? Communication through time, like through their sex life, through their intimacy, and especially at points where they may not be able to even see each other. So like if they're not able to physically see each other, or if it's dark, like things like that. So they have to actually rethink all that, and they work it out on page, like they actually discuss it on page, and he makes it very clear that that is important to him, that they discuss that, and she's not like, oh, don't be stupid, like she actually takes that into consideration. She's like, okay, I can see why that could be quite distressing for you to think that you might hurt me. She doesn't go, oh, don't be stupid, you're not going to hurt me. Like she actually takes that into consideration. She's like, I totally understand why that might be distressing for you, and although I don't think you'll hurt me, like I would rather alleviate the anxiety you have about that and be a good partner than just, like the conversations that are had. Again, with the character who has rheumatoid arthritis and autism, because of both of those things, how she is able or comfortable being touched is different to how, or needs to be taken into consideration differently, or not in a typical way that you would think about. And so the other character, who is like, again, like hockey player, has to like think about that, and he does, like he takes that into consideration, and he discusses that with her again on page, and things like that are so important. Like these are discussions that are being had in romance novels. Like these are characters who are having discussions about things that are like, this is what I mean. This is why these like silly romance novels are so important, because they're having discussions that people need to be having in real life, and they're talking about things, and even like even down to like not even talking about intimacy and things like that. The first book, the guy, he's deaf, and he went deaf late in life through meningitis, and it was both meningitis and the antibiotics that are used for meningitis that cause these deafness, and that is very common with meningitis, that the antibiotics will also damage your hearing. And so he's had to recalibrate and he's had to deal with the effects of that, like which he had to go through like mentally and everything like that, go through that healing, and go through that, like, right, okay, where does this sit? Like, where does this put me? How do I deal with this? Where do I go from now? And he also like stopped talking, because he couldn't hear his own voice. He didn't trust it. So he stopped talking. And I've never seen anybody talk about that, where like the consequences of damage done by like disease or like injury or something causes this like issue, or causes this ripple effect down the line. Like I love these books so much. Honestly, like Chloe Leese has done an amazing job with these characters, with these discussions that she's having. She's put so much into them, and yeah, again, she's admitted herself the first time round she didn't do the best job, but she took on any criticisms that people had and did a better job when they re-edited them, when she got a publication, like a publisher, sorry, when she wasn't indie, like when she got picked up by a publisher and she wasn't indie publishing, and she is doing her damnedest to make sure she gets the most accurate experience out of them. And again, it's not going to be everybody's experience, because not everybody who has these conditions is exactly the same, but she tailors these experiences to these characters so well. I'm about halfway through this book. I'm absolutely loving it. Like, I cannot wait to get my copies of the other books. I wish I could afford to just buy the paperbacks right now, but I cannot, because I had to get my car MOT'd, I had to get its brakes fixed, our bloody microwave decided to crumble to dust, and so we had to buy a new microwave. Probably could have done without the microwave for another month or so, but like, but we needed a microwave, so I bought a microwave. It's fine. So like, I cannot wait. I got the Yellow Crate ones are already paid for. That's fine. I don't need to think about that. They will arrive next month. So if nothing else, I get them next month. It's fine. I'll be fine. I can survive. I still have 2 more after this before I don't have access to the ebooks anymore, because the libraries don't have them. So I'm fine. I'll be fine. But yeah, I'm going to go back and probably finish this book. And yeah, I just had to. And even the dog in this has a limp. Like, even the dog's a little bit disabled. Like, Chloe Elise was like, I got you. Like, everybody's disabled. Like, Chloe Elise's website has things like, everybody deserves a love story. And she really does take that to heart. Like, the breadth of types of disabilities and things like this she takes into consideration. There's a lot of autism in her books. Like, a lot of the characters are autistic. I think maybe nearly half or something so far have been autistic, and I think that's because Chloe herself is autistic. I'm not saying like I think Chloe's autistic. I know Chloe's autistic. She has said herself that she is autistic, but I think that the reason she leans on that so heavily is because it's an experience that she understands, and so she wants to input that more because it's something she understands, and so it's easier to put that in when you understand it, is what I meant. But to add in these other disabilities that I feel like don't get talked about as much, like these, like, even though I don't have ulcerative colitis or rheumatoid arthritis, there are aspects of both of those physical disabilities that I see, that I can sort of relate to with my own physical disability. And it's just like, I wasn't even the first chapter in to this book with a character who's got ulcerative colitis, and I was like, I'm gonna cry. Because it was just her, like, she has been lying to her friends, and they don't know that she's got ulcerative colitis, and she's actually very sick because she's having a relapse of the condition, and it's made her extremely unwell, and she doesn't want to be seen as, like, a burden, and she doesn't want anybody's pity and things like that, and it's just like yeah. It's equally like relatable but frustrating at the same time, and it's like, oh my god, I see you, like, I get it, I totally get it. And I can't wait, because every single time I pick up one of her books, I see a new, like, I'm surprised in a fantastic way every time, so I can't wait. Next one is, I think the next one is the first queer one. I don't know if I don't think any of the other characters have been openly queer, but the next one is a male-male romance. The only thing that Chloe Elise doesn't have in these books is POC rep, and that makes sense. One, because the love interest in all of the books all come from one family. It's the Bergman brothers book, so like all of the love interests, like one of the main character POVs is from one family. And so, like, that makes sense. And then everybody else is, you have less sort of scope, like, you have less people to then, utilize as your rep. Although there is same-sex rep in this one, but it's not the main characters, it's side characters. Did I just say same-sex rep? Same-sex relationship, like there's a gay couple in this, and they have a daughter. It's so cute. But also, Chloe Leese is a white woman, and I would totally understand if she was a white woman who did not want to write from the perspective of someone, of a person of colour, because I would also not want to write from the perspective of a person of colour, because I am not a person of colour, and so it's none of my business to be writing their experience, if that makes sense. Like, I don't know, because we should be given more page space to people of colour, but at the same time, I feel like they should be also getting more book space, you know? Like, we should be giving more authors more page space, instead of just, like, yellow facing it up in here, you know? Does that make sense? This is a whole nuanced conversation that I can't have in a vlog clip, but, like, I hope you know what I mean. Like, people of colour are not a token to be thrown in by a white author to, like, tick box, and should be treated with more dignity and respect. Is basically the very, like, nutshell that I'm trying to get at. But the disability rep in Chloe Leese's books, coming from an author who is disabled and being read by someone who is disabled, I am loving, and I'm really excited to see what she does with the queer rep as well. I'm going to go and read this book. Hello, it is Saturday. I am still feeling rough. I always wake up in the morning feeling like this might be a better day, and then my body quickly humbles me throughout the day. So that's great. I'm getting really quite annoyed because I have like a piling up list of things that I want to do or I need to get done, and I just keep thinking I'll do it when I feel a bit better, and I just continue to feel like crap. And I feel like all you guys are getting with these vlogs is me complaining about how crap I feel, which I apologise for, but as much as you are probably getting annoyed hearing about it, imagine how it feels being the person stuck feeling it 24/7. So, yeah, I am grumpy. I have, for some reason, like, and amongst the general just feeling ill, that I've got part of the weird rash back again. Like, my immune system is still attacking me for some reason. So I've been re-steroiding my body. I'm itchy again. It's great. I've not taken any more fenofexidine because I don't know if that's needed. Like, I'm not itchy enough that I feel like I need the fenofexidine yet. But yeah, so we're back on that loop. And right now I've got like pins and needles in my foot, and I can't get it to go away. I've gotten up, I've walked around. I discovered recently, like today, that pins and needles is not blood related, it's nerve related, so it's like compression of the nerve. And so like I was like, okay, well, like if I can move about, maybe like I'll like move my foot and stuff. No, it's still just like pins and needles on my foot, and it's really annoying because it won't go away. But yeah, you know, whatever, it's fine. But I finished the book I was reading. So I finished The Warm House of Ghosts. I think I can't remember what I said. I think I said 4-star. I've kind of talked it through a bit with Tori, and not enough that like, because she's not read it, but like enough of like to like kind of get it around my own head. And I'm gonna put this up. That doesn't look any better. I don't look any better. It's fine. So I've talked it through with Tori a bit and thought about it. Bumped that down to a 3, which is unfortunate. I just feel like it didn't do enough to warrant a 4. But it's still decent. I still really enjoyed it. I'm still not mad at it. I just think it could have done more. And then I've read the entirety of the next Bergman Brothers book, which I can't remember the name of. And was Axel and Rooney's story. So I've read that. I'll put a picture here again. And thoroughly enjoyed that. It had representation of a character with autism, which is quite, again, I said this before, I think it's quite common in Chloe Leese's books, because Chloe Leese has autism, and so she puts that into quite a few of her characters because it's something that she knows. And a character who has ulcerative colitis. There is a marriage of convenience, which leads to, obviously, like, them catching feelings. And there is a dog and a cat. And I love the fact that they're rescues and they're just menaces. Well, the cat's a menace, the dog is a sweetheart, because that's just how dogs and cats are. And yeah, I really, really enjoyed it. As always, 5 stars. I don't want to get too into it because I'll be here forever, but I absolutely loved it. I am going to do like an in-depth vlog, I think, on the Chloe Leese books, just because she has done so much work on these books, and I feel like they deserve an in-depth vlog. And then I've also started Waypoints by Sam Heughan. This is a kind of like Jill Point memoir. And so you're getting part of a perspective where he is doing the West Highland Way, which is a almost 100-mile trek up the west, not the west coast, but like the west. There's no map in here, Sam. You should have put a map in here. Up the west side of Scotland. It starts at Mulgai and goes up to Fort William. And so it is, I think it's 96 miles is the full trek. And he decides on a whim one night, I'm not even kidding, he decides one night that he's going to do it. And so he goes out before the shops close to this like mountain warehouse-esque type place, buys a whole load of stuff to do it. He's like, I've done marathons, 96 miles, what's that, like 4 or 5 days worth of trekking? I can do that. And then he grabs all this stuff, and the shop's like, oh, what are you up to? And he's like, I'm doing the West Highland Way. He was like, oh, when you going in the summer? And he's like, no, tomorrow, first light. And he's like, what? And so he's like, okay, it's October. What are you doing? But no, Sam's like, no, I totally got this in hand. And so he's decided literally like overnight that he's doing this. Gets up the next day and leaves. And so you're following him as he is doing this trek. So you're getting point of view each day as he's going. I think he does, the first 2 days he does about 20 miles each day. And then there's also sections of reflections from his life from like a child. And now he's talking about going to Stirling University, where he applies to RSAMD, which is the Royal Scottish Academy of Music and Drama. Rolls right off the tongue, doesn't it? It really does roll right off the tongue. I was a music and drama student at school, and so RSAMD, Royal Scottish Academy of Music and Drama, is one of the things that I considered when I was at school. So it was like a very often mentioned university when I was at school. So Royal Scottish Academy of Music and Drama rolls right off my tongue. So it's now the Scottish Conservatoire of Music, or Royal Scottish Conservatoire of Art or something. It's got a new name, but it was RSAMD at the time, and it's RSAMD when I was at school. And so, he's just about to re-audition after his gap year, and after going away after that gap year to work in theatres and do some TV for a year. And then he's just about to re-audition for RSAMD. And he's decided to take the West Highland Way a bit slower, because the first 2 days were really he's tried to do the West Highland Way, and he was camping, he decided to camp as well in October in Scotland with little experience in hiking and everything. Yeah. On a whim, he decided to do this, thinking he was a fit youngish guy, and got quickly humbled by Scotland's Highlands. So it's such an interesting read because it reminds me a lot. There was another book I read this year, I can't remember what it's called, The Bone Cave, and the author did the same thing. Not quite the same thing. He was a seasoned hiker. He did this all the time. He had done the route multiple times, and he was doing the North Coast 500, so it was a different route that he was doing. He was doing it in sections. He was doing it like bit by bit. He wasn't doing the whole thing. He was doing it different times a year. He had like planned all the routes. He had different, but the same thing of like on your own, the way that they're reflecting on things, and the harsh climate of Scotland, like the harshness of the climate in the winter and the autumn winter time, and the way that nature kind of makes you feel so small and kind of humbles you really, really quickly. You know, we think we are the pinnacle of life and of nature, and then you get out into nature and it will humble you very, very quickly. And I think that so far is I think that is really what Sam got out of this, is that humbling of nature. And I really enjoy these books that do this, that go through places like the West Highland Way and the North Coast 500. This is something I've wanted to do for ages. I'm just going to take this down again. I've always wanted to do the North Coast 500, and I've always wanted to do the West Highland Way. I would love to walk and camp the West Highland Way. I would absolutely love to do it. Unfortunately, that's not something I'm going to be able to ever do because of my EDS. I mean, unless there's a miracle, my health is not in a position where I would be able to physically manage that. I can't even manage to do a 15-minute walk with the dog without being in a lot of pain, or, you know, having days. Having like, when we went to these safari park, I ended up in agony. We were only there for a few hours. I ended up in agony, and I spent, well, I haven't actually had a day of pain-free or back to my normal baseline pain since, so that'll tell you. So yeah, me doing the West Highland Way is basically me trying to, you know, yeet myself off this earth. So reading other people doing it is my way of vicariously living through them. Yeah. I'm really enjoying this, and yeah, I just love books about Scotland. I love this is why me and Kay, when we go on our holiday in July, I always say June. In July, we always try and go in Scotland, because we live here and we've got this incredible place at our doorstep, and yet we never stop and look around and really appreciate the place that we live. We have this incredible country, an incredible place around us, and I feel like we don't appreciate it enough. So I love being able to experience that through other people's eyes as well, and as much as I can now, I love being able to, you know, go out and experience it. So yeah, I'm going to go back to reading this. I'm actually quite far through it. It's just over 200 pages long, because there's a big section at the back. Yeah, it's bigger than I thought. Okay, that's what she said. I hear you, Becca. There's a hair stuck in my book. It's 265 pages long, and I'm 96 pages in. So I am just over a third of the way in. Let's see how far I get through. Hello, it is Sunday. I've just come off sprints with Becca, Emma and Tori, and Tori and I are still backstage, or not still backstage, we've gone on to a different backstage thing, so we can continue reading. And I have picked up, there's still a sticker-ness on this book, I've picked up Just Like That by Nina Kay. I got 89 pages into it, so I'm like a third of the way into it, roughly. I've got like 200-ish pages, just over 200 pages left, so just under a third. I'm just totally like blah, blah, blah. Can't talk today. I'm so itchy under my chin, and it's so annoying. Anyway, I think I can get a good chunk of this read, and the sun has gone away again. It keeps raining on and off, and I keep having to turn the light on and off because the clouds come over and just totally block out the sun, which is fun. But yeah, I finished Waypoints last night and really enjoyed it. It was a 4-star. It was really insightful to see the dual perspective of Sam growing up and going through his education for being an actor and looking at all the ups and downs of how it is to be an actor, because it's not a stable profession. Like, there are people who get lucky, and Sam was one of them. When he got the part in Outlander, like, that set him up really for success, but he didn't get that part until I think he was in his 30s, and up until then, from 18 to 30, or 18, he was at university and stuff like that, but basically from when he left university until he got the part in Outlander, really it was living job to job and, you know, taking casual jobs to sustain himself, really, while he was doing auditions. And that is the reality that a lot of actors live with. And yeah, it was really, really insightful into that life as well, which, sorry, my machine's on a spin cycle again. I always seem to pick up when my machine's on a spin cycle. But yeah, it was really insightful, and really insightful to see the kind of person that Sam is. Like, it's really reflective of his mindset and how he thinks. There was a lot, he did talk a lot about the physical side of the physical aspects and sides of it as well, because he was saying about how there's a lot of pressure, and it's well documented that there's a lot of pressure on female actors to look a certain way and to sustain that, and the pressure that comes with that. But what's not as recognised, and should be equally as recognised, is the pressure on male actors to look a certain way as well. Like, you do get some male actors who are cast in, you know, in ways, and they don't necessarily have that pressure. And, like, I'm sure you can think of some actors who are like that, but you get, you know, like Sam Heughan, like, look at Jamie Fraser, like, he is big, muscly, Highlander type. Look at, you know, he was up for a part in Superman, or Bond, or he was in a play where he played Batman. Like, these parts, like, male celebrities, like, we look at them and, like, we have this expectation for them to have these, like, washboard abs and these pecs and these arm muscles and these like, they are supposed to be like these muscly guys, and that takes a lot to sustain. Taylor Lautner talks about it a lot as well. The sheer effort he had to put into bulk up and then sustain his musculature for the Twilight franchise, and how miserable it made him. And that's why he kind of looks the way he does now. Like, he doesn't look like he did when he filmed New Moon and Eclipse and Breaking Dawn, because that is just unsustainable, and he hated it. And so now he's got more of, like, the, what people would call, like, a dad bod type thing, but a more realistic body type, and, you know, he looks better for it. And it's just, but yeah, Sam touches on that as well quite a bit, about how he felt he had to look in a way. And even now, like, when he was walking the West Island Way, he was saying, like, he felt like he feels like he's a fit guy. Like, he goes to the gym and he does this and he does that, and, you know, but at the same time he was struggling because he isn't fit in the sense that, like, some people who do all these things are fit. He's fit in the sense that, like, he builds muscle to look good. And so it's not the same thing. And just because you look fit on the outside doesn't mean you're actually fit. And it's just, the discussions that he managed to, like, slip in there were just really, the reflection was so great. And that's what I love about these types of books, where someone goes on this physical and philosophical journey, is that there is this, when you have this time and this isolation to yourself, just to think and reflect on your life. Like I said yesterday, he was humbled so quickly by nature, because he had this arrogance about who he thought he was, what he thought he was capable of, and nature was like, you need to settle down. You need to just, it slapped him down so quickly, but it allowed him to then see who he truly is, and he was able to overcome that in a way that was like, it showed his internal fortitude. Like, he completed that walk. He did the 96 miles. He actually did more than 96 miles because he kept going off on different tangents and going to see things, climb up hills to go see the views and stuff like that. So he did more than 96 miles. But because he was so determined to do it quickly, the first 2 days, he ended up miserable and he ended up in a lot of pain and struggling, and then realising after those 2 days that he didn't need to be pushing himself like this. It wasn't about, like, he'd started off with this idea of what he was capable of, that he was wrong, and then it kind of had to switch gears and see what he really wanted out of it and what he could get out of it. And then the next 2 days, or it wasn't 2 days because he did it over 5 days, the next few days, and then when he did Ben Nevis after it, he had this sense of himself, or he was able to then gain more of a sense of himself that was just so much more reflective. It's almost that thing where you need to tear yourself down to build yourself up, and that is something I've seen reflected in a lot of these types of books. So Wild by Cheryl Strayed, The Bone Cave by, I can't remember his name, I want to say Dougie Strang, but I think that's wrong. But these sort of journey books where you need to kind of bring yourself down to a baseline level so you can build yourself back up again, and kind of like strip away all that external build up that you've got in yourself of who people think you are and who you've kind of built yourself to be for other people, to get down to who you are as a core person. And I think that's great. Like, I think that's such a good lesson, that we have so many different sides of ourselves and so many different just not even personas, but like, you know, there are times when you don't realise just how much you can handle until you're in the thick of it, and it takes that self-reflection to realise just how strong you actually are, and realise your limits and respect those limits. And yeah, that's what I got out of that book, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. Really, really did. It really, really touched me, and I think it's a fantastic thing that he's done to put that all on the page, to show the ups and downs that he's had, to bear his kind of soul like that. I really, really highly respect him for that. So yeah, like, well done for writing that. I really think it was really fantastic. I think I didn't get a 5-star just because the way it was written, it was quite jarring at the start, the way it kind of jumped about. I definitely think it could have been written better, and it just kind of like, the experience of it wasn't quite as good. I just think it could have been done better. That's it really. But the content was fantastic. The intention and the reflection and the, you know, everything he put into it and what I got out of it, fantastic. But just the actual writing in itself wasn't all the way there. And the way it was structured just wasn't quite for me. But yeah. So yeah, I'm so glad I read that book. I'm so glad I picked it up. I just think it was really good. Really, really good. But now I'm reading Just Like That by Nina Kay. This is about Jess, who is I don't even really know what she does. She's an event management person, and she's been working her way up the ranks. And then, as she's just landed this big promotion, her brother, who is only, and he's like mid-30s, has a massive stroke, and her parents are living in Spain, and aren't really the greatest parents, to be perfectly honest. And so she decides that she is going to look after her brother, because they are really close, like the two of them. She knows he would do it for her. She loves her brother. She's going to take care of him. And so she sort of drops down her work commitments, as it were. So she asks to drop down her hours, and her boss decides that means she can't take on the same level of commitment, and she's determined to prove him wrong. And so she ends up going to this this, what's it called? An animal park near Edinburgh in East Lothian that I don't think exists. I think it's obviously made up for the thing. But it's an animal, when I say animal park, and it is in danger of closing in the next 6 months if they don't get more money, basically. And she is there to help them do that. Unfortunately, she had a run-in at the hospital with the head keeper, Nick, and it wasn't great. She thought he was hitting on her. He was just trying to make sure she was okay, and she wasn't very nice to him, and he was like, well, F you. And so they meet again at the park, and it's a bit awkward. And so she's trying to navigate being attracted to him, while also being kind of like standoffish with him, while also struggling with work, while also trying to save this place, while also struggling with the responsibility of caring for her brother, who is now disabled but on the path to recovery, knowing that he'll never be fully recovered. And she's kind of taken on that whole thing of like, she wants to look after him, but she doesn't want him to feel like a burden, but she doesn't want him to know how much she sacrificed, but she would always, like, she wouldn't even think about not making the sacrifice. She just basically got herself in a load of, like, complex, tied up, like, yeah. And it's just, so far I'm really enjoying it. It's only 89 pages in, and I'm really enjoying it so far. So, I'll update you later. Hello, it's Sunday. I'm doing this before I forget again to film this clip. It is Sunday. It is the end of the vlog. I have finished my book. I have showered. I am clean. I am dry. I am ready for bed. I am absolutely shattered, and I am getting a little bit, like, woo. You know, just, you know. So I finished this book. It was good. It was good. It was nothing like earth-shattering. It was decent. It was good. It was just under 300 pages. So it delivered what it promised. And I am not mad. It was 4 stars. It was, yeah, it did it. It gave me everything it promised. This is a good romance for anybody who doesn't want a spicy book. There is no on page sex. There is none of that. It is very much a, not necessarily a fade to black in that sense. Like she mentioned, like she says, she makes a comment that like, so like they do the whole thing where like they go to the room and then like they like fall into each other's arms and like blah 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 blah. But it doesn't like fade to black in the sense of like, and they wake up the next morning. Like there is a mention of them like in each other's arms, but that's it. That's the sex. Like that's the sex scene, is them like in each other's arms. That's the mention of it. So it doesn't fade to black and like they go into the room, they kiss, they wake up the next morning. You know what I mean? But there's no on page like, you know. So yeah, if you don't like any sort of explicitness in your book, this is for you. I really enjoyed it. It was nice, again, to have a book set in Scotland in a way that wasn't kitschy and wasn't, like, you know, tokeny. This was very much, like, the whole thing was set in Edinburgh. This is about a woman who, she is at this company where she does event management. Yeah, event management. I always get this wrong. Before I look at the back, she works in event management and she is, like, hitting it out of the field left and right. And then her brother, who is, you know, as she's offered this massive promotion, she gets a call. Her brother, who is, you know, living it up, he is in the prime of his life, in his early mid-30s, has this massive stroke and is going to need round-the-clock care. And she is like, well, of course I'm going to, you know, step back from my job to care for him. And she goes to ask to go into part-time hours, and her boss is like, yeah, of course, but I'm going to be taking you off, like, all the high-profile jobs that you've just, you know, been the one to get us all these clients, and I'm going to take you off the jobs because I need you to be available 24/7 because, you know, corporate greed and stuff. And she's like, excuse me? And he's like, it's nothing personal, it's just business. And she's like, yeah, okay. And so the job she's put on is this animal rescue place where they're basically like, they've got 6 months to turn around their finances before they have to shut. And it's that kind of place where like the staff are all family and they all really care about the animals, and she starts to care about everybody that's there as well, and she wants them to succeed, but she knows that if she can really turn it around, that she'll be able to show her boss that she can do this, and hopefully she might get some of her clients back. Like, he might give her some of these clients back, not realising that's not really how these kind of people work. But she's trying to balance, like, not losing her job, but losing, like, the status in her job, while also struggling with her brother's health, like the shock that she's had with her brother's health, the fact that her parents are pretty much useless. They're in Spain and they don't want any part of helping other than financing it, you know. And she's struggling under the weight of it, basically, and she's trying not to break. And it's just set. She's struggling, and she's trying not to break, and she's trying to act like she's lying to herself about how much she's struggling. And I really enjoyed it. And then she meets Nick, and they just have this really abrasive first meeting where she meets him at the hospital, and she thinks he's hitting on her, and he's just trying to check if she's okay. So she's really like quite mean to him. And then of course he's at the place. He's the head keeper, and he's then quite abrasive to her, and like they just set each other off. But of course they both like each other, and but they both want to help the place at the same time, and it's really, you know, it's that like tension. I really liked it. It's not the best written romance I've ever read. Like, it's very like surface level in the romance area of it. Like, it's all very convenient in the way things happen, and yet it also has a lot of important discussions, because she doesn't tell Nick about her brother, and she withholds that information based on assumptions that she makes about him and his reactions that she thinks he's going to have to finding out about her brother. And, you know, it's important discussions to be made, because she just kind of assumes that he will think that that's a burden that is not worth taking on. Whereas when he finds out, he's kind of just like, you know, a regular person about it. And yeah, I really enjoyed it. It was really good. And I would definitely read From Nina K again. So glad I read that. I will be moving on to another book next, obviously, but we will decide on that in the next vlog. But yeah, I just wanted to pop in and let you know. I should really go to bed now. It is actually past midnight, and I am very tired, like I said, but I am clean. I am showered. I've done everything I need to do today, which is a miracle in itself, let me tell you, because I am gubbed. I just feel like I'm in a cycle of just not recovering whatsoever, and I am so itchy. Like, my skin is so itchy. I've just been sitting scratching my arms. So yeah, I think I'm going to have to go back to the doctor's, but we will see how that goes. But yeah, I'm doing well. I think I'm doing okay today. I think I'm like, I managed to get everything done. It was a very short list, but I managed to get everything done that I wanted to do, so I'm proud of myself for that. I'm just going to give myself a little pat on the back for that. But if you want to let me know that you were here, is there a bear emoji? There was a very important bear. She's a sun bear. So either leave me a bear emoji or a sun emoji down in the comments. And I will see you in the next video. Bye.